For years, I've been going around to public places and lecturing about religion and politics and other similar topics. I've never put anything online before, but I've always expressed to many people how frustrated and annoyed I am about how I think politics and religion are inadequately connected, and especially when it comes to religion, how it's very poorly presented in the media and in general in public forums. And a lot of people have said to me, they say if you want something done right, do it yourself. If you really think you can do a better job talking about religion and defending religious concepts, then do it. And so finally, here I am. All that brought me to this day. And my name is Rabbi Eliezer Weiss, and this is just a little introduction. If you wanted to skip it, you could, but I think that if you listen to what I have to say right now, you'll really have a better and clearer perspective of where I'm coming from and why I feel the way I do. To me, religion is an organism, a living, breathing thing. All the different parts of it are deeply interconnected. And when you take one part away and you separate it out and you try and examine it alone, not only do you do it a disservice, but it's also dishonest and misrepresenting that concept. What happens is you wind up in a strange situation. Imagine if somebody asked you to examine a human heart. And he said, I want you to explain how it works. But it was just a heart. You wouldn't be able to do it because you need to see all the other interconnected systems to understand fully what the heart does and how important it is. In the same way, philosophical topics that have to do with religion need to be examined in context of what the religion says about life, about meaning, in general. Just to give you a quick example, I heard an abortion debate where the two sides that were being presented were presented in a vacuum, as if, what does religion have to say just about the topic of abortion? And if you try and bring in any other type of philosophical concept, I'm going to reject it. I say, no, the topic today is abortion. But that's unfair. And there's a few reasons it's unfair. For example, whatever I tell you about abortion, if I say, I think life begins at XYZ, the other person can immediately attack me and say, you only believe that because God said so. Well, yes, that is in fact true. But you see, if we look at abortion alone in a vacuum, you just invalidated my argument. Do you know why? Because if I only believe it because God said so, then now we have to go back and prove God. But that's not part of this conversation. Oops. So now we are left at a point in the conversation where if you accept God the way I accept him, and if you perceive meaning in things the way I perceive them, then I've made a very convincing and rational argument. After all, I accept this because I accept God. But if you don't accept God and you don't believe in God the way I do, then you invalidated my argument. Because after all, you're going to say whatever you're going to say, and you're going to say that what I believe in is based on some cloud wizard. And what you believe in, well, maybe you don't have a good moral basis for it, but at least you believe in it because you believe in it, as opposed to me who just believes in it arbitrarily. In a sense, it goes back to the old silly thing your mother used to say. If everybody jumped off a cliff, would you also jump off a cliff? And then it goes to, if God says jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff? Now, to the religious person, the answer might very well be yes. If God said jump off a cliff, I would. But the not religious person then says, but that's stupid. So you say, no, it's not, because you don't understand everything that came before this point and why I would jump off the cliff if God said so. But the not religious person responds and says, but that's not the topic of this conversation. The topic of this conversation is, if God said jump off a cliff, are you insane? Don't start talking to me about all the other parts. This schism of not seeing religion in its entire context and trying to take little bits and pieces, whatever they relate to, whether they be about abortion, whether they be about how to understand basic human freedoms, whether it's about individual responsibility, whether it's about how we should treat people morally. Do you owe it to someone to say good morning back to them if they said good morning to you? Do you owe it to someone to be nice to them if they haven't done anything wrong to you, but they haven't done anything good to you either? How should you behave toward animals? Should we care about the environment? All of these considerations in a religious context relate to one another and to our understanding of what God wants from human beings in the first place. But when we take each piece of the puzzle and say, I'm not going to look at any of the other pieces, I only want to debate this one, we're making a caricature of what religion is. It's a parody of itself. It's nonsense. That's what I believe. And that's why I'm starting these conversations. In the following topics that I'm going to speak about, we're going to start from the very, very beginning of how I understand religion, how I think religion should be understood. And I don't think I'm always right. I love debate. I'd love to talk to other people and have conversations with them and see what they have to say and respond to them. Maybe I'll learn something new. Not just maybe, I'm quite certain I will. But I think that I do have a different take on this. And I think that it's important that people realize that the proper understanding of religion is one where all of life, all of creation, all of existence, all of time is all part of one greater stream that ties together, that influences the way we think, the way we feel. And every individual topic is just a piece of that. And we have to look at it that way, and then the argument becomes completely different. Yeah, that's my introduction. And I hope you'll tune in and find the rest of what I have to say interesting and compelling. And if not, let's talk about it. Thank you.